Hello there, my friends. It's so nice to see you again, and welcome back. I thought that today we do something a little different, something that I think is going to be very fun. We're going to do a hot air balloon today. Oh, I know, it's very different from what we've been doing. Well, last time we did a lighthouse, and I thought that today it'd be just fun to do, say, a balloon. I like balloons a lot. And, well, I can't say I've really painted one before, so this is going to be very exciting and very different. Well, first thing we want to do is get our paints on the old palette here. As you can see, I've got my cadmium yellow, I've got my cadmium red, or my cadmium red light, I got my titanium white, I've got ultramarine blue over here, and then I've got alizarin crimson. And over here is just a big mess of all the old colors that I haven't really used. And we can use that to mix a whole bunch of neutrals and everything. You want to use a very firm paint when you do these direct painting things that I do. These direct paintings. And sometimes your paints can get a little oily. When they do, it's not a big thing. You just wipe a little bit of the excess off. This excess can be really annoying sometimes, especially when it gets all over the place. But you can manage it. You can manage it. It's all right. There. That's better. Now, we want to get right to the painting. So what I want to do, of course, is I want to get a little bit of ultramarine. Tap that into the brush, just like so. Yeah. And then tap it over there. Now, what I want to do today is something a little different from what we've been doing. I want to get a little bit of that. Oh, I know, that's something. Get a little bit of cadmium yellow there and tap that in because our sky's going to be a little bit greener today. Pull out a little bit more of that ultramarine and get that in there. We want a lot more ultramarine, the cadmium yellow in this one. A lot more. Just a lot more. See, let's pull out a little bit more of that ultramarine. And I think I've almost got something that I really like. Lots and lots and lots of ultramarine. There. Now, we're going to introduce something of a new color today, but we only want to do a little bit. I want to just tap, lightly graze that alizarin crimson and get a little bit of that in there. And after I have a little bit of that in my tapped pile here, that's probably good. We want to go up here to our canvas at the very top, because remember, the sky always is darker at the very top of the canvas than at the bottom. At the bottom it always gets lighter. So we want to go ahead and with crisscross strokes like this. Ooh, got ourselves a little bit of a, let's see, I want to get a little bit more blue in there. Yeah, that's the way. Get ourselves a little bit more of a dirty sky today, don't we? Yeah, a little bit. You'll see streaks of all different kinds of colors in there. That's all right. Just crisscross it all the way down. Doesn't matter if your sky is a little bit messy here and there. There we go. Right in the middle of the canvas is where our balloon is going to be. Okay. Now we want to have a little bit of an angle going as we do this. It's getting a little streaky up here. Canvas might be a little bit dry. That's all right, that happens. Now, at the bottom, as I was saying, we want to have a little bit of an angle going. So you want to keep your crisscross strokes going, but make sure you have an angle as you're doing it. There. Because the clouds are going to be coming in at sort of a diagonal like that. There. That's good. That's good. Now, Just want to go very lightly across this. There. something over there too. That's better. A little bit of something here, a little bit of something there, a little bit of something everywhere. Just have fun with it. Don't worry about it. Oh, if you're worried about perfection, you're going to drive yourself crazy. That's what I always tell people. You try to do things just right, and then whatever you're working on has other ideas about how it's going to go. So, there. That's pretty good, I think. What I'd really like to do now, I think I want to wash off the brush. And you know, you want to do that every so often. You don't have to wash off the brush every time you dip it into a color or anything. But you want to wash it off every now and then. And I just want to make sure I get all the paint off of there. Wash it on the brush, or wash it on the grating that I have at the bottom of this bucket. And I'm using a 5-gallon industrial bucket to hold this paint thinner. And what I'm using is odorless paint thinner. We do not use pure gum turpentine or any kind of turpentine. We use odorless paint thinner or odorless turpentine. There's a lot of different brands out there, but look for the one that has the highest flash point, and that one will be the least volatile. The higher the flash point, the easier it will be to work with. Okay, got most of the paint off of it. Now, let's take the brush and give it a good beat on the edge of the easel here. There we go. That's the stuff. Perfect. And then you want to take your paper towels. You want to have some paper towels on hand because oil painting gets real tough to do without paper towels. You can do it, but it's a lot harder. It is much, much harder with a roll of paper towels on hand. And I'd say that brush is about clean, wouldn't you? Yeah, I would too. Oh, I think what I'm going to do now is take a brush I haven't used yet, and then take another 2-inch flat brush. You want to keep at least a couple of 2-inch flat brushes on hand. And, ooh, I'm getting another drip on my palette here. Boy, that titanium white there sure is oily today. Yeah, it'll still work. It's not going to ruin my painting at all, just sometimes that paint likes to run. Whew. Now, what you really want to do with this is you want to just pull out a little bit of titanium white. Just a little bit of that, yeah. Pull it out. Just give it a good run. And then tap it into the brush. And you probably want to get a little bit of that alizarin crimson too. Not much. That might be too much. Ooh, that's too much. That's too much. Too much. Ooh, even that's a lot. That's a lot of... I don't know if I like having that much. That's probably more than I want, don't you think? Yeah, it probably is. Oh well. Sometimes you get colors into the paint you don't mean to. That's okay. Looks like I'm going with a very light lavender color today. Oh, that's going to be fun to work with. Now, what we want to do is we want to take the clouds, and they're going to kind of go all the way down this way. And, well, let's see if we can get it. It's kind of a streaky kind of thing where it's going to go... Yeah, maybe get a little bit more white in there. Yeah. Yeah, that's the way. Maybe even swirl it around so it looks a little bit more cloud-like. There's no shame in swirling it around as you go. You probably... What you could do is tap in the edge of this. Tap in the edge. And then swirl it around a little bit. That's the way. Now we go out here. Ooh, yeah. What the heck, let's go in there with a little bit more. And maybe we'll go in up here just to mess things up a little bit. We can go and make as many rows of clouds as we want. We can overlap them if we want. That's pretty good. I don't know if I want to do it too much more. But we want to eliminate most of the brush strokes on this as we go, because we want the layers to be pretty thin leading up to the final layer. The final layers can be pretty thick, but the initial layers here, gotta keep them thin. I think what I'm going to do is get a little bit more of that color down below. Maybe I'll insert a little bit of shadow on the bottom of the clouds. Just swirl it in. Swirl it in. There. Swirl it in. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. And then on the edges of the clouds, I'll just go in with some pure white. No big deal. Get a little bit on the edge there. Yeah, that looks cool. I like that. Yeah, that's how we do it. You gotta make that sound as you do it, or else it's not gonna work. Just FYI, guys. And then a little bit more over here. Okay. And, well, let's clean off our brush, shall we? Because we got our brush pretty dirty on that one. Oh, there's nothing like a dirty brush. Nothing like a proper bucket and some swinging to get it all cleaned off. Yep, there it goes. That's nice. Let's clean off the other one too. Uh-oh. Dropped my palette knife in there. That's not good. Yeah, it's not going to ruin it. But it's not my favorite thing in the world either. Okay. Let's go ahead and... yeah. Make sure that we that's the way we do it. And of course, give it the old brush off on the paper towel, both of them. That way you got two clean 2-inch brushes. When I paint with these 2-inch brushes, I always use natural hairs. These are natural hair brushes. Those can be a little bit difficult to find on a house painting style brush like this, but you really want a house painting style brush when you do this sort of thing. And that way the painting just goes a lot faster. You don't have to work as hard at it. And then you can complete, I should say, I'm getting all tongue-tied here. You can complete a painting in a very short amount of time that way. Now obviously, at first you're going to take a lot of time to do it. Well, you'll get better at it. Everybody gets better. As a matter of fact, I should probably clean off this knife too. Got a lot of turpentine on it. A lot of oldest paint thinner. Also, I had some blue on it from earlier. I was doing something else before we started today's episode. Okay, so all of our tools are clean. Our palette is ready. It's dripping a little bit again. Oh, that yellow. That cadmium yellow sure does like to drip, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. So does our ultramarine. This ultramarine is a dirty, dirty color. Now what we could do is we could take our palette knife. Let's take the big one. Let's take the big one. Take the big one. Take the palette knife and scrape off that color. The color that we just used, because we're not going to use it again for a while. We want to mix it up with that old stuff. There we go. Yeah. Looks like he could use a friend. Maybe that's what he was trying to tell us by dripping so much. Yeah, that's the way. Cleaning off a palette knife is very simple business. You just wipe it off on a paper towel and forget about it. Far easier than cleaning off a brush, I would say. To say the very least. Okay. Now. Oh, these colors slipping and sliding. Sometimes you gotta mash the color around to get it to stick onto the palette properly. Sometimes when you put a color right on, it doesn't adhere right. It likes to do whatever it wants, it gets a mind of its own, all that good stuff. we're not going to use a lot of canvas scarlet today. I didn't put a lot on, but I did put a little bit because we might have a redder later that I might need it for. I'm not sure quite yet, but I think we will. So I didn't put a lot on, but I put some. And now it too has forsaken me. All these paints. You want to close up your odorless paint thinner after you're done using it. That way you don't have to smell it as you go along, which is always very nice. Now, our balloon is going to be kind of off center. It's going to be going right around here, and there's going to be a little bit of a basket down at the bottom for the person who's going to be in it. Okay? So what we want to do is kind of just scrape out a little bit of an area where we think it's going to be. Because, well, you know how it is with a hot air balloon. It's round. But also you know how it is with a direct painting method like this. A la prima, some people call it. Or some people call it wet on wet, whatever you want to call it. With a painting like this, we want to scrape as much paint off the area we're going to paint as we can, because we want the area that we're painting on, the surface, to be very thin. We don't want there to be thick paint at all. That will not be good for our painting. Okay, so it's about right there. Trying to get the shape of it right. Okay, now we want to, I don't know. We want to go down here and scrape off a little bit. There's going to be a little bit of a basket down here. So let's scrape off some of that. And I think that's going to be about the size of it. Yeah, that's about right. Ooh, there's a lot of paint on there, isn't there? You would be surprised just how much paint you have in your painting after you paint that sky. You would be so surprised, and that's exactly why we have to scrape this the way we do. It's just so, well, sometimes you gotta use that little edge in there to get those tight spaces. That's why you gotta do it. You don't have to make it perfect, like I like to tell you, but you do have to get a lot of it. And after you do get a lot of it, we've got roughly the shape in there. We can call it about good, and we can clean off our palette knife. And also do any other cleanup that you need to do, because maybe you got some paint on yourself. Ooh, maybe you dropped a painting tool like that. Maybe you got some paint on your palette. Whatever. Just go ahead, clean yourself up, because it's time to get ready for the next part. Okay. Oh. You know, it's funny working with an oil palette like this, because sometimes or a lot of times you get a lot of paint on it that you don't necessarily plan on getting paint on. And it's not the best thing ever. It's not the best thing ever. In fact, it's frequently very annoying. Alright, now what we want to do here, we want to get a balloon that's a little bit of an off yellow, say, an orangish kind of yellow. So I'm going to get a little bit of this color over here, this weird color. Oh yeah, that chunky brown that we got. Has a lot of colors in it that we've used before. And I'm just going to get a big old hunk. A big hunk of that yellow. And I want this to be mostly yellow. I'm going to make this mostly yellow. This is kind of an ochre color so far, but I want it to be a little bit more of a brighter yellow. Not really a brighter yellow, but I just want it to look a little brighter. And that way I think that we'll have something a little bit more what I'm looking for. Okay. If you ever run out of paint, it's not a big deal. You just add a little bit more to your palette and you can move on with your life. Now, obviously today I try to put as much paint on my palette as I can beforehand, so I have to do that so we don't have to spend too much time dilly-dallying about. Okay, yeah, this is pretty good. Ooh, sometimes you get a hair in there. Oh, that's neat. See the little hair? Oh dear. Yeah, that happens sometimes too. Just wipe it off on something. Okay. Let's see how that looks against that. I think I want a little bit more yellow on that. Oh, I know. I'm just using up all my yellow, aren't I? Yeah, a little bit. Well, we gotta have more paint than we think we're gonna need. That's something I like to remind people to do, is to always mix up a lot more paint than you think you're gonna need, because right when you think you've mixed up enough, well, it turns out you haven't. Oopsie daisy. Well, I'm just gonna use all of it. What the heck? There. That's better. So now we got a big old glob of yellow. Big old glob of dirty yellow. That's all right. Now I'm going to take I don't want it to get too clean. Now what I'm going to do here, sometimes my arm gets tired, so I put the palette down. You can do that too if you want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this entire space here with this yellow. Now the reason that I'm painting my balloon like this with such a dark yellow color is because this side of the balloon technically is in a little bit of shadow. So I want to have that kind of a shadowy yellow look, but I don't want it to be too dark either. I want this to be kind of a, I don't know, a middle ground kind of yellow. When you put on the yellow, go ahead and smear it. Again, we're going to thin this out later. We're probably going to even go over this with a brush, I think. So you don't want it to be too thick. You know, I'd never seen too many hot air balloons in my life until I went to this event somewhere in mid-Michigan, I think, where I saw some hot air balloons going around. Actually, it might have been in Howell or something. I don't quite remember too perfectly where it was, but I just found that these hot air balloons were just fascinating. Really found it very interesting to see these people operating these things, because I've always seen them in cartoons and stuff and all other kinds of media, but you don't see hot air balloons a lot, at least around where I am. So just seeing them was a good experience for me. I like them. They are very colorful. They have all these interesting patterns on them. They make really great subjects for paintings like this. Now, if you've ever seen a hot air balloon, you probably noticed that it has ridges on it from the seams that hold the balloon together. And those are definitely tricky to get, but we're going to get them today. We're going to get them today. Look at that. Isn't that already starting to look a lot like a hot air balloon, or at least a balloon? I think it is. And it's so much easier because we decided we were going to scrape off a little bit of paint beforehand. Now, the paint on it is very thick, of course, and we can still use some of this to create our ridges that we still have to make. So let's put the palette down, because we have to get a little bit more precise here. Now, where do we think these ridges are going to be? Oh, I don't know. I think there's going to be one right there. Okay. So go ahead and just etch that in ever so delicately. Etch it in. Make it look a little bit round. There. It's hard to describe how to do a ridge like that. But just make sure that it follows this arc right here, right there. Yep, right there. That's the way. And then there's another ridge over here. Another ridge. There it is. Find that. Draw it in with the edge of the palette knife if you have to. That is a perfectly valid way to find that edge if you have to do it. There is absolutely no shame in drawing it in with the edge of your palette knife, the edge of your brush handle, whatever you want to do. It's your painting. You do it however you want. Yeah, if someone tells you they don't like it, well, you tell them right off, because it's your painting. I know. A little bit cavalier with the way I like to work, aren't I? Okay, we want to get a little bit rounder as we go up here. Now there's another ridge right there. Let's see if we can find it. That's looking pretty good. That's looking pretty good. Yeah, yep, yep. Ooh, soften it, soften it. There, there it is. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's looking nice, isn't it? Oh, look at those edges. Oh, those are looking very, very nice. Okay, now let's find this one smack in the middle here. Shouldn't be too hard to find because, well, at least not for me. Maybe you're going to have a harder time doing it, but just make sure it's very round. Very round. There. Ooh, I'm making it too pointy. Making it too pointy. Doesn't have to be perfect, but making sure it's round. Make sure it's round. Yeah. There. Actually, there. Whoa, 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 whoa. I thought I had it for a second. Thought I had it. There. There it is. There it is. Ooh. Whew. This is tough work, let me clue you. Alright. Let's go ahead and I think right there is where the point is going to be. Right there. Alright. And there's the next one, right over here. Oh, that one's a tricky one right there. Ooh, that one's moving away from us. Oh, I know. See, we got that angle, we got that angle. Ooh, let's make that a little bit more. let's just give this a little bit more shape down at the bottom. Ooh, ooh, yeah. That's the good stuff, baby. Check that out. Okay, we got all of our ridges right now. Got all of our ridges painted in. Now this is looking much more like a hot air balloon. It's looking a little bit like a head, isn't it? Yeah, it kind of is. But what do you say we go in with a 1-inch brush and just pull a lot of this paint around? Because we got quite thick paint on this, don't we? Yeah, we kind of do. We kind of do, and it's a bit much. It's a bit much. So I want to go in, make sure I get this a little thinner. Because, boy, that's just too much. That's too much. Yeah. Ooh, that's better. And just wipe it off as we go. That's fine. Good. There we go. Come over here, wipe a little bit of that off. There. Perfect. There. Let's give it a little bit of something here at the bottom. Just a little bit extra. There it is. Got enough paint on our palette knife from scraping so much that we can reuse some of it. There. Now let's go ahead and clean off the palette knife here, as well as our brush. We gotta clean off both of these. We can just wipe off the palette knife ever so easily. What I want to do now is I want to get a little bit more yellow on there. I want a little bit more yellow. Actually, why don't we hold on to some of that paint there, because we can probably reuse that when we start painting a few other things. Now I'm going to get my other 1-inch brush out, and we're going to paint in some brighter yellows as soon as I put a little bit more paint on here. Sometimes that happens. You run out of paint, you use up a bunch of it, and then you find out you need more paint after all. Even the best laid plans can sometimes fool you. Alright, we got a lot of paint now. That should do us for right now. And what I want to do, like I said, get my 1-inch brush. This one's clean. I'm going to pull that one out. I'm going to get a lot of paint on there. A lot of paint, just drag it. Look how paint that is. Got a nice little edge on there. Paint is practically dripping off. There's so much. Now, because I have a lot of ochre color on here, what I want to do is start, maybe right about here. And I want to just kind of make like I'm painting all the separations on this piece. The divisions between all those ridges. I'm going to paint that all the way down to right about there. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Paint the divisions. The divisions are going to have a little bit of a ridge in between them. There. There, now pull that down. You want to try to follow a little bit of a curve as you're doing this, because, you know, there's going to be a curve in the hot air balloon as you go. There. And it just kind of swirls up as you reach the top there. Disappears into the ochre. There we go. last, I want to get more of a yellow color down at the bottom here. There. That's better. Take that brush, give it a good beat down. There it is. Wipe it off. This brush is ready for action again. Never get tired of beating those brushes around. Yep. There's a few colors we gotta put on this balloon as decorations. What we want to do for that is to get out the shorter palette knife. I feel like the shorter palette knife is going to be better suited for this one. And this one is going to be a little too violet in the red, right? Kind of a pinkish hue there that we don't really want for this particular red. We want like a clown circus kind of red. So to get that, we got to add a little bit of the cadmium red. And that'll shift this much farther toward the color we want. There it is. The cadmium red light is a little too orangish on its own. So we gotta put that alizarin crimson in there to give it that friendly nudge toward middle red. Okay. So we got that color that we need right there. I guess we could just get a little bit of this color over here. I mean, why not? Just to give it a little bit of brown. Yeah, that's better. So we got that color. That's cool. Let's cut that off. Ooh. I'm getting my paint a little too thick on the palette knife. I want a ridge like just like that. Got a nice ridge on there now. Now we're going to go over here to this particular section of the balloon right here. I'm going to just give it some TLC, if you will. There. Oh, this is tricky. This is tricky. There it is. It's going to go down to about right about there. There. Ooh, we want that to be a little bigger. Let's go ahead and just... That's the way. And of course we want it to have a little bit of a curve to it at the top. A little bit of a curve just to make it look like it's following the shape of the balloon. There. That's pretty good. Loving that. Actually, we should probably make sure that it's following the shape down on the edges here too. If we don't make sure it's following the shape on the edges, it's not going to look quite right. Might look a little funky. Well, it's a hot air balloon. It's going to look a little funky anyway, but we don't want it to look too funky. That is just, that's no good. You don't want to be too funky. There. That's pretty good, I think. I think we can leave it like that. Now there's a couple of blue colors that we're going to use. And we're going to use the same blue color for both ridges. I particularly like this blue color because it's a very dull turquoise color. And, well, I don't know. I just I got kind of a thing for those dull turquoise colors. It's one of my favorite colors. I've never been a big bright turquoise kind of guy, but I sure do love that dull turquoise. It might have something to do with the waters up in Grand Traverse Bay. Around the summertime when you go up there, you go to the waters and they always have this turquoise sheen about them that's just very luminous, but it's also got a subdued hue to it. It's very attractive. All right, we want to take a little bit of that yellow that we created earlier and add, ooh, well, let's add a lot of blue on this one. Add a lot of blue, because we want this to be a turquoise color. We're going to create a very bright green color too, but we want that to be more yellow, whereas we want this to be more blue. On this particular one, we want it to be a little more blue. This is still pretty green. Don't underestimate these cadmium yellows. Some of these cadmium yellows can be very strong. And usually, when you play with a cadmium yellow, a lot of brands make very weak versions. A lot of them really do. But some of them, they'll surprise you with how strong they are. And they'll look you right in the eye and tell you, you want to fool with me? Go right ahead, but you're going to regret it. No, they don't really do that. That'd be kind of scary, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would. I'd probably stop painting if that ever happened to me. Yep, no joke. Alright, I think I got kind of a turquoise color that I like here. One that's not too bright, not too dark. There. Ooh, that's looking very attractive, isn't it? Yeah. Don't want to overmix it. Just smear it out and then cut off a little piece. Yeah. We can put that down for right now. Put that down, and we're going to figure out exactly where we want this one to go, because we want it to be right about here, and then we want it to curve just around there. So let's start right about there, and let's say that it's going to end right about, because yeah, the arc of these designs, the designs are all the same, but the arc is going to go just ever so rounder. There it is. And go ahead and draw it if you want to. Go ahead and draw it. Don't be afraid to draw. Drawing is the foundation of art. You're going to have to learn to do it eventually, so you might as well get to it. Okay, go ahead and just put that turquoise in now. That's good. That's good. You like that? Oh, I like that a lot. Yeah, I sure do. There it is. There. Now we just want to fill in the blanks of what we drew. And that's the best part about drawing it in before you actually paint it. You can just, draw it in real easy. Nothing to worry about here. There. That's nice. Ooh, that's nice. I think we're going to use the same color for the other one. And the other one is going to be right about there. Yeah, that ridge right there, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There. All the ridges repeat sooner or later. So we want to go right about there. Yeah. We want to draw about here. Yep, right about there. Draw it in. Ooh. See how easy that is? Now you can add a little bit of shading to this too. I think before we leave today, before we end things today, we're going to add a little bit of shading too, just so you guys can get an idea of what this might look like. I hope you guys realize that painting yellows like this can be Very challenging. Oh, it's so challenging. You can make it work. Oh, look at that. I think that's curving the way I want it to. We might want it to curve a little bit more. We might want it to curve a little bit more. Get the edge of that. Yeah. Okay. That's not looking bad. It's looking pretty good, I'd say. Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. That's good. We don't have to fool around with that too much more. This one we want to clean off our brush for. Now, I've got a little bit of dark colors down here that I can use to give this a little bit of character. Now over here, I just want to tap the edges a little bit. So check out that. Check that out. Yeah, that's how we do it over there, guys. Ooh, boy. Sometimes the paint can get a little thick. It can get a little thick, but you just want to kind of mix it in there. Let it do its thing. Yeah, that's cool. Then you go over here and you do the same thing. Go near the top. And maybe go around the edges a little bit. Maybe you want to try to outline it a little bit down here. That's cool. It's okay to make your paintings a little messy too. Can't let it bother you too much. There. That's looking pretty good, I think. Now what I'd like to do is put a little bit more of a red color on the edge of one of these ridges over here, because we definitely need one. We definitely do. Okay. Let's go ahead and, well, we still got this red here mixed up, so let's take some of that. Oop, just like that. Check out that little roll. That's how we do it, guys. That's how we do it. And we'll just kind of go. We're just kind of gonna go around the edge here. We're not gonna fool around with this too much. There. I don't know that we even really need to throw a shadow on that. It's so small. There. That's looking pretty good. There. That's how we do it. Don't have to worry too much about that one. That one's looking fine. Now, what I do want to do, though, I almost forgot. I want to get a little bit of my alizarin crimson, and since I want a little bit of a darker color, I'm going to go up here at the top here and just throw some of that on. Ooh, that's how we do it. So alizarin crimson is a very dark color, and it can be a shadow red color if you really want it to. It can totally be a shadow red color. You can go in and put it on the edge of stuff. Draw along the edge with that. There. Just dip into the alizarin crimson. You can do it that way too. Sometimes you want to put a little bit more of an edge around there. And this is pretty good, I think. Yeah, this is pretty awesome. Over here. There we are. Yeah, just that's the way. We'll leave it like that. We don't want to get too crazy right now. We don't want to get all that nuts. Alright, we want to get something a little bit more. We actually want to get like another turquoise color right in here, right on that middle one. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, let's go ahead. Ooh. I think I'm going to need a little bit more yellow on this one. Go ahead, put a little bit more yellow on that. Not too much, not too much. And just take the tiniest bit of Blizzard Crimson, just the tiniest bit, tiniest bit. Add a little bit of white, a little bit of white. That's looking pretty good. That's looking pretty good. Okay, there we go. Alright. Now we're going to cut across. Just like that. We got a little too much paint on there. Here. There. We got a little bit of a ridge on that end. Let's go up here. We want the tip to be right about there. That's pretty good. Alright, we got a lot of paint on that brush, or not that brush, but that knife, so let's go ahead. Get all that on there. And there's going to be a little bit of a curve. These designs are a little hairy. There it is. That's good. That's good. Right about there. Right about there. Oh boy. Okay. And if you want to get a little bit of some shadow up there, I'll just take a little bit of some of the same stuff that I was working with for the other turquoise, because this one isn't all that different. I'm just going to go up there and add some bits and pieces, odds and ends. There. And that looks pretty decent. What you can also do, if your painting happens to get a little out of control on some of the designs, you can just, well, you can let go of it for one. You could always do that. But if you don't want to let go of it, if you want to try to correct it, you can go in with your knife and just scrape it out. That's how we do it. And then go in and You can also go over here. Do it that way too. Either way's fine. You don't have to worry about it too much. Whatever you want to do. And our last little design here, I think today, we're going to do a green one. We're going to do a very lively green one. I feel very excited about this. We're going to take a little bit of that turquoise that we just used. We're going to go over here. And it's going to be much more yellow to the blue on this one. Much, much more yellow. Okay. There it is. Let's go ahead and just add a little bit more yellow to it. It doesn't hurt to have a lot of yellow on this. The thing about cadmium yellow and ultramarine blue is that they don't make very bright greens, so we gotta brighten things up by adding a lot of cadmium yellow. It has to have a lot of cadmium yellow to the ultramarine blue. And even then, it won't be like a perfect green. It'll be more of a neutral kind of green. But we're not trying to go real perfect on this one. We're just trying to get things a little green. A little greener is what we're trying to drive at. There. That's good. That's probably about good right there. If you want to add more green, you can use a green color, but I'm not using a green color today. So let's just go ahead and there we go. And now we're going to go in right here. We're going to draw in exactly what we're going to do. Stop right about there. That's good. That's good. That's good. There. And your green color is going to be kind of similar in value to your yellows. So it could create a problem where you're having a hard time seeing your yellows. And there's a couple of solutions for that. You can go in and just darken the green a little bit. Or you can darken the yellows. Now, considering you've already darkened the yellows, darkening the green probably isn't going to be your favorite option on this one. So darkening the green is going to be much easier than darkening the yellows. Go in there. There. And that's about good. We don't have to get too nuts. There we go. Now I'm just going to add a little bit more blue on that. A little bit more blue on that green. There. Make it more of a middle green at the top. There we go. That's better. There. That's much better. Whew. Now that, my friends, is exhilarating. Let's go ahead and insert a little bit more of a green color over here too. Because we got one that happens to ride the edge. There. That's pretty good. That's perfect. We really don't want to do any more than that. Very good. Very good. Now, let's go ahead and take this brown color we have and let's make a very nice ochre out of it. Now we want to add a lot of this brown color. But what we can do is take some of that red there, make sure that's gonna take things down a few pegs. Because right now that's a little bright, and then this is going to need to get a little bit something too. There. There's actually a lot of green in this color that we're going to be painting up next here. So don't be afraid to get a little bit of green in there. In fact, get some of that blue there. Yeah, that's the way. Okay. We're going to have ourselves a very ochreish yellow pretty soon. There. That's starting to look a little bit more like what we want. Maybe add a little bit of red. Don't want to get too green. It has to be just the right amount. Just the right amount. Alright, that's probably about good. So let's cut across there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to be drawing a little bit with our palette knife again. Now imagine that we have the seam, and the seam goes right about to here. Okay? That's where the seam is, just about. Actually, it could be a little bit up there. Yeah, that's about where the seam is. And then we just kind of go around the painting here, pretending we know where the seam is on each of these pieces. There. That's a little better. There we go. Ooh. There. Now that you have an idea of where your seam is, you kind of just want to take what you've drawn and fill it in. I always recommend drawing a little bit before you go ahead and do this, because it makes it a lot easier to figure out, well, where are my things going to be, where am I going to place everything? And that's real stressful to figure out if you're just kind of winging it, you know? But if you go ahead and figure it out, it gets a lot easier then. You can figure out, oh, there's a ridge right there, and there's a ridge. There's another one. This is actually pretty simple stuff. Pretty simple stuff. There's obviously going to be things you can learn if you take your time on this, and you can take as much time on this as you want. I'm kind of just going full steam ahead, not spending too much time on individual things, because we don't have that much time together today. Oh, if I could just stream this and keep on going forever, I would. I would. I think it'd be a lot of fun. We're going to have like a flap on the end there, where this is going to kind of just extend out into the sky there. And that's going to be pretty much the same color as a lot of the stuff we're doing today. Let's see, this is going to be connected to the seam over there. Yep, there it is. This is going to be connected to the seam over there, so we can leave that spot bare, but all the rest of this, gonna have to give it the old heave-ho. Oh man. Oh man. It's a good thing I made a lot of that yellow color, you know? Because we do waste a lot of paint. Well, that's okay. It's okay to waste a lot of paint, because you know what? Painting is tough. There's no getting around it. Just gotta admit it to yourself. Painting is tough. And as soon as you come to terms with that, boy, that is the first hurdle. Now we can go ahead and just smear this in there. Smear it, yeah. Smear that. Smear that. Yeah. Doesn't that look delightful? Yes, it does. This is pretty much exactly the color that I thought I wanted. I wasn't too sure when I made it up. You know, sometimes you make colors and then you're not sure if this is quite the right one, but then you work with it for a little bit and you realize, oh, well, that worked out so much better than I thought it would. And believe me, it's a relief when that happens. Especially when you're working under bright lights like this. When you work under bright lights, it can be very difficult to judge the right color. And the painting that I'm actually making here isn't going to look like it does on the camera here. It's going to look a little different in real life. It's going to look probably much more subdued than it actually should be. Sometimes it looks brighter than it actually does on the camera. It's a real mixed bag when you come in and try to paint like this. So over here, what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of white and brighten that up. And that'll be our highlight for our little space over here. Because we got pretty bright highlight over here to the right. All we gotta do is just, yeah, we take a little bit of the ochre, put some white in it like that, smear it out, get a nice ridge, and over here, there, that's how we do it, guys. And we actually want to get a little bit of a ridge over here too, because there's going to be a big highlight over here in the balloon. Let's get a big old highlight over there. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. Okay. We want to go over here. There. And let's make a little bit of a darker color here. Let's go ahead, take some yellow, take a smidge of blue, a smidge of alizarin crimson, and then we'll have, I think, a little bit more of a darker shadow ochre. At least I think that's what it's going to be. The thing about using this pile over here is that it's got a lot of cadmium red in it. So that can be a little bit challenging because cadmium red tends to make things a little brighter than you want them to be, you know? A little brighter. And it's not always what we want. In fact, it's usually not what we want with shadow colors. It's usually the opposite of what we want. Ooh, that's looking a little better. Maybe I just need a little bit more of each of these colors. Yeah, it's probably going to be a little bit more alizarin crimson to the ultramarine on this one. It's going to be very brown. It's going to be very dark-ish. See how that looks? Ooh, that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and run with that one. There. Now what we want to do, we want to go around the edges. And hopefully, paint will stick. And this should just give us a little bit of separation on this as we go. Yeah. give us a little bit of that delicious separation. Because we want to be able to see things as we're painting, you know? Yeah, I know. All right. And you can even go into where the highlight is. Maybe get a little bit of that darker color and blend it in. There. That's the way. There. Oh, I've got that. What do you think I should do? You think I should insert a little bit of a little bit more shadow at the top of our balloon here? You know, couldn't hurt. I say we go ahead and there. That's better. Now, let's see. A little bit more of a brown color. We have some seams on the balloon that we really need to get in there. So we're just going to get some alizarin crimson and some ultramarine whipped up real fast here with a little bit of yellow. That should be dark enough for what we need. That's good, that's good. Just run the palette knife through it like that. You don't have to cut off any ridges or anything like that. Just run it through it. And we're going to kind of just cut through here. And then right down here. Right down again. And right at the edge here. If you want, I can go back in with a few more edges. You don't even necessarily have to fill the edges, but you do want to cut them in there at the very least. You do want to cut these edges in there at the very least. And then we just go again down here. And over here. There. That's about where we want it to be. You know how it is. You got a little bit of something down here that you probably want to throw into the mix. Just to make it a little bit more interesting. Give it a little bit of a bit of outline down there, a little bit of outline down here. Now we're going to do something with that yellow brush that we never did clean off. I'll leave that palette knife right there for a second. I'm going to get a little bit of this yellow down here, and I'm going to just go right here. Take a little bit of my white. I want a lot of white on this. I want it to be like a really bright white. Yeah, bright white. And I want it to be like a really bright yellow. Because what we're going to do is we're going to have a lot of paint on the brush right here. You see that we're just kind of waving it back and forth, getting a little bit of an edge on it. And what I want to do is just go in there. I want to paint this highlight. In fact, if that's not bright enough, we can take our palette knife, scrape that off, and well, we can just smear it in there too. A lot of palette knife action on this one. Surprisingly so. You wouldn't think there would be on, say, a round object like this, but hey, sometimes paintings surprise you. Ain't that the truth? Make this as bright as you want. If you want, you can take a little bit more. Just throw that in there. There. That's pretty good. Let's go down. Yeah, that's the way. Imagine if the sun is hitting it from that side. That's pretty cool. Now we got a real dark carriage that we have to paint. But let's clean off everything. Let's take a moment, clean off the old brush, clean off the old palette knife. Yeah, real easy to clean off that palette knife. Look how easy that is. Yeah, I know. Real easy. And we go down here. We get the palette knife. Or not the palette knife. I want to keep talking about the palette knife. Gotta clean off the brush because it's got a whole bunch of yellow on it. Put that in there. Ooh, that's nice. Go and just give it a little beat down over here. That's right. Wipe it off. And your brush, my friend, is good to go. Ooh, we should probably clean off the old small palette knife too. It's the old everything, you know. The old brush, the old palette knife, the old fan brush, the old palette. To be fair, they are getting a little old at this point in time. Been using them for the better part of a year, I think. So I can't criticize myself too hard. That bucket is definitely old. Okay, we need to get ourselves a carriage down below here. We need a carriage hanging off of that. It's going to be kind of breezy, look like it's got a little bit of something off to the side there. Like maybe we already drew it in. I don't know why I'm talking to you about it. So let's go ahead. Take a little bit of alizarin crimson, a little bit of ultramarine, and then a little bit of yellow. And that'll give us a very pleasant color. Okay. Actually, get a little bit more. We want this to be kind of a violet color. Very dark. Very dark. Don't want to get very brown with it. It's brown. That's not the right one. We want it to be very violet. So make sure you get this on the real dark side. Lots of alizarin crimson, lots of ultramarine. Then that's probably dark enough right there, even if it is the way it is. All right, now we're going to go over here. Yeah, look at that. Look how easy that is. Boy, pretend we got ourselves a little bit of a guy in a basket over here. He's over there, he's doing his thing. He's just kind of firing everything up into that. Let's go ahead and there. Let's go ahead and draw it. There it is. There's that. Draw that. Yep. Okay. There it is. Now let's go ahead and add some white on there. Get a little bit of white. Yeah, that's the way. I got a little too much paint in here. Over here. And then we can probably just throw down a little bit of something down there too. There. Just to make it look like it's got a little bit of something too. Actually, we could probably add a few edges. Just to make it look like, I don't know, make it look like it's a basket and all that good stuff. That way it'll look real nice when it's finally done. You can scratch them in, you can paint them in. You can be as careful as you want, you can be as sloppy as you want putting those in. It's all good. But I do want to put a little bit of some chords over there, just to make sure that we got the indication that this guy isn't just floating in space. Because you know how it is, guys. You know how it is. We want to go over here and, well, he's got that attachment over there, but we want to go over this bit right here. Maybe that's attached right there. There's going to be a few posts on here. Let's go ahead and throw those on. Here we got the little thing that's blowing a whole bunch of hot air into the balloon. The little contraption is right there. It's real small. You know, you can barely see these things when they're up in the sky like that. But there it is. That's what's blowing that hot air up in there. Then we can go in and, I don't know, maybe take a strand. Take a strand right there. There, that's cool. Maybe there's another one right there. Yeah, that's cool. Just make sure we got the indication of those posts. Yeah. Take a little bit of our dark color. Let's go in and make some nice little touches over here on the That's looking pretty good, I think. Kind of like that. Yeah. Real simple. Gives us a nice little feel for the... We can go in with a few of our things. We can take just a little bit of... Actually, my palette knife wasn't completely clean. We can take a little bit of our ochre colors and we can go in with the edge over here. Mess around with those a little bit. Don't want to get too crazy with it. This is looking pretty good. We're just about finished with this one. We can take a little bit of ochre color down here. Go in with it. Just to give things a little bit more of a definition. That looks pretty good over there. We can go over here and just mess around with that. Make it look like there's a little bit of shade or something happen over here. Give that a little bit of something. We can go over here and maybe give that a little bit more definition if you want. I don't know, it's your painting. You can do whatever you want. You can go nuts. You can make it look however you want. But I think we've had enough fun with this one. I think that it is almost about time to call it good for today. I think we've had a lot of fun. I think it's about time to put in the old signature. Now you know me. I don't like to get too fancy with signatures and whatnot, so I'm just going to put a simple S-K there. And that's enough for this one today. A little bit of an introduction to hot air balloons. A little bit of fun painting just one. If we ever painted more, we would keep it much more simple than we did today. I tried to get pretty detailed with it, and I hope that you got a lot of this one. Well, my friends, I think that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank you for joining me, as always. Until next time, with love from me to you, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.